Hotel real estate investors are still learning from this global pandemic, a situation with no previous comparison. Owners today are faced with hard decisions as reality forces them to embrace potentially losing their assets to lenders and also dealing with equity investors on capital calls. For example, HREC is now dealing with many of our clients on trying to provide them with runway capital to help them get through these tough times. For hotel owners that were lucky enough to sell their assets in 2019, they feel they have dodged a bullet, especially for those assets in their portfolio that did not meet their strategic long-term objectives. The lesson learned is that the timing of your exit for a highly volatile asset such as a lodging facility is never perfect. If you have made a good return and you don't see a long-term strategic objective to holding on to the asset, sell.
The question is, what lesson should hoteliers take from the current pandemic? And first off, it's not really practical or possible to manage or anticipate a situation like we're going through now, but there are some things to keep in mind that may help to cushion the impact of what we're dealing with. The first is that hoteliers should be ready with plans to manage their operations in a downturn. So savvy operators have a plan B when RevPAR falls 10%, and a plan C when RevPAR falls 20%, and then another plan D when RevPAR falls 30%. In that same way, you should have a vision, just like you practice an emergency evacuation plan, to put into play when things change from a current direction or deteriorate. And that plan should encompass both the operating statement, the day-to-day operations, as well as the balance sheet, conserving cash, increasing assets, deferring or putting off liabilities to the extent you can. So that is one thing that hoteliers have learned day by day, but it makes sense to have a plan in action for future events. The second lesson is that we have gone from over-tourism to under-tourism. But when there is either a vaccine or an effective treatment, it's clear there will be a robust return of travel in the same way that people are addicted to their cell phones. I think people are just as addicted to travel, to meeting others, being with others. We've seen strong indications in markets where there's outdoorsy resorts. Customers are piling in and can't wait to experience both travel as well as the adventure of visiting a different place and meeting new people. So I think that we should be fully comfortable that there will be a return to travel as soon as conditions permit. And my final lesson is that in the same way that consumer travel has dropped off the map as a result of the pandemic, asset markets and the visibility of asset pricing has deteriorated because transactions have generally come pretty close to a halt. And that is because many investors see that the market has not yet hit bottom in terms of the pain being afflicted by this pandemic. However, I think that as soon as travelers return, the transaction market will once again return, and it will return pretty robustly. There's a substantial amount of capital that has been aggregating on the sidelines waiting for an opportunity. And as in the past, the hotel sector is generally one of the first to recover because of the inherent nature of the business and its day-to-day pricing and demand trends. So look for that in the coming months, and hopefully we'll get there sooner rather than later.
From a management standpoint, I hope the current crisis has exercised our adaptability. We cannot assume that the way we've always done things is the sustainable way going forward. COVID has caused us to strip away all assumptions, question everything, rethink, and rebuild staffing and service models. I hope memories are long. Steve Jobs of Apple didn't survey consumers as to what they wanted. He looked at behavior and created something we could not have imagined. As one example, the smartphone has become part of our everyday life. The hospitality industry has the opportunity now to truly innovate as our customers and guests are open to and accepting of significant change. It is an ideal time to execute on new ideas. From an investment standpoint, standard business school teaching suggests using leverage to maximize investment returns during periods of economic growth. However, in a daily leasing industry such as ours, this is a risky model. Leverage is the primary reason owners get into trouble in economic downturns. It happened during the global financial crisis in 2008 through 2010, and the exorbitant number of assets in special servicing are evidence that we have an even bigger problem now. Modest leverage certainly boosts returns for any investment, but aggressive leverage in hospitality investments almost never ends up being a good idea.
In every recession, we need more revenue and we need to control our cash, and really cash is king. But in this COVID recession, there are a couple things that stand out. And the first is the way to promote. And clearly Facebook and Instagram have taken over, and a true digital marketing presentation is required to reach guests who are hunkered down. And perhaps most importantly, in this COVID recession, we need to take care of our employees and protect them from COVID, and take care of our guests and protect them from COVID, and protect our liability. Because if somebody tests positive, not the end of the world, but handle it. But if you get people sick, we're looking for liability problems. So let's hope this thing goes away real soon.